Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Everyone's well aware that UCLA is in year one of a new coaching situation. You know, Deshaun Foster took over for Chip Kelly, but it wasn't your traditional transition of power. This was not a December firing that yielded a traditional coaching search that begot this era of UCLA football. It was not that. Chip Kelly left February the 9th to go call plays for Ohio State. February the 9th. So you basically got your signing class locked in December, and you're, 4, 5, 6 weeks from starting spring ball, and he's out of there. And so UCLA was basically on the back end of the coaching carousel. Like, everybody had already found their jobs. They didn't get to jump in with everybody else and see what they could do. And by the way, like, hiring Chip Kelly was a pretty good hire name-wise when they did it. So, and the last guy they hired was Jim Mora, who was an NFL head coach. So it's a different situation than most were in a coaching change. Last year, UCLA went 8-5. They went 4-5 in the Pac-12. They crushed USC 38-20 in the Coliseum. They were a functional football program. You saw the team that crushed LSU back in 2021. I mean, that team was pretty good. Like, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was a good college quarterback, and Zach Charbonnet's still in the NFL, and you had good tight end play and a solid defense. And, like, last year, D'Anton Lynn made them one of the top 15, 20 defenses in college football. Like, it's not like UCLA is just a complete doormat. Now, you compare them over the last 20 years to Oregon and Washington and USC, or Utah. No, they have not been a power. Far from it. But they're not a doormat. Chip Kelly had them functional. Nobody cared. Nobody went to the Rose Bowl. Nobody gives a rip about UCLA football, but they were decent. And the first 2 weeks, they haven't been decent. And I'm a little curious as to why. Like, Ethan Garbers played a lot of quarterback for them last year, and he's the quarterback for this team that'll come into Tiger Stadium on Saturday. He's a fifth-year senior. Last year, because of injuries, they had to play 3 different starting quarterbacks, and they still won 8 games with 3 different quarterbacks starting. But he started 6 games. They won 5 of those, and he threw for 1,136 yards, like 226 a game, but you realize that UCLA was the best rushing team in the Pac-12 last year, so it's not like they needed him to air it out. But he was very effective, efficient, threw 11 touchdowns, only 3 picks. In the USC game last year, he threw 3 touchdowns. One of them was a really good play where he evaded a blitz and threw a little dump-off touchdown pass. He doesn't have a lot of great physical gifts. He's not 6'5". He doesn't have a rocket arm. He's not a great athlete, but he's a functional college quarterback. And he's just been bad through 2 weeks. I don't really know another way to say it. Like, he just has not played well at all. In the passing game this year against what I would consider to be fairly subpar competition, he's completing 54% of his throws. He's thrown 1 touchdown and 3 picks. Hawaii and Indiana. Like, that's markedly worse than he was last year. In the running game, and I just talked about in the first segment of the show, they've got 4 starters back on their offensive line, and they were good running the ball last year, and most of that was TJ Harden last year. He's a 6'2" tall back. He ran for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns against USC last year. 1 rushing, 1 receiving in that game. But, fairly skilled back. To this point this year, just almost nothing. 21 carries, 63 yards. He's averaging 2.7 yards per carry. He's averaging 28 yards per game through 2 games. A guy last year that was a 500-plus yard rusher, he's going for 28 a night on Hawaii and Indiana. I saw Keegan Jones on a highlight reel. You keep in mind, whenever I go watch a team, I usually watch the highlight reel. I can't get any feel for UCLA's offensive players this year because they have no offensive highlights to show. You show a highlight video of that game, and it goes like 4 minutes, and it's mostly the other team scoring points. It's Indiana going up and down the field. It's Hawaii throwing the ball around a little bit. It's field goals. I never see these guys. I had to go back to last year. One of them was Spanish highlights I had to watch to get a feel for what these guys are, because they haven't put any highlights on tape through 2 weeks. But Keegan Jones is fast. I can tell you that. I saw one of those highlights against Oregon. He took a little screen pass and was booking it down the sidelines. Those guys look to be functional. They haven't done squat in 2 weeks. And the wide receivers, we talked to the Locked On UCLA podcast host yesterday. He said, yeah, Rico Flores and J. Michael Sturdivant are like pretty talented dudes. And you look at their high school rating and you look at their size. They're both 6'2", 205 pounds. Sturdivant maybe 6'3". And they're not really doing much. Now, Flores has made 3 kind of quote-unquote big plays. He has 3 catches that have gone for over 30 yards. But like J. Michael Sturdivant last year, 16.5 yards per catch. He had 4 touchdowns, almost 600 yards for a run-first offense. And you look up this year, and he's made 3 catches on the year. 3 catches on the year in 2 games. Like, they're just not doing anything on offense. So as I put all that together, and I tell you about a team that's not moving the ball and that's having its issues and that came off of a bye week last week, had 2 weeks to prep the first snap of the game. They snapped it to the quarterback, Garbers. He went to turn around and hand it off to Harden. They ran into each other and fumbled. Indiana fell in at the 17-yard line. Like, they look completely discombobulated. And if I'm LSU and Blake Baker, like, I'm going to be really disappointed if they can't slow this team down. We were all disappointed by the Nichols game. I get that. Again, you're coming off of a tough loss. It's a short week, and it's Nichols. There's no excuse in this game. These guys are not producing. I hesitate to say they can't because they were decent last year, but they've got a different play caller. And let's be frank, like, I feel like at this point you got to trust Chip Kelly to call plays a little bit more than you trust Eric Bieniemy. I went through Eric Bieniemy's resume, and I actually put a story up on LouisianaSports.net about it. And, like, outside of when he's got Mahomes, they don't score a lot of points. He was the OC at Colorado for 2 years, and they were terrible. They averaged about 16 points a game while he was the OC there for 2 years. He left and went to Washington, and I'm not calling that a great situation with Ron Rivera at quarterback and ended up in a position to draft Jaden Daniels. But, like, they weren't good last year on offense. They were one of the 5 worst offenses in the league. And so it starts to make a little bit more sense now when you think about Eric Bieniemy's career arc and how everybody was banging on the door for 4 years that he had to get a head coaching job in the NFL. And I'm going, he's interviewing. Everybody knows they're scoring a lot of points, but let's be freaking candid. You're interviewing this guy for your head coaching position, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill aren't coming with him. So how much is him and how much is not? And if you take that piece of his resume where he wasn't really running the offense and he had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, it's pretty crappy. And there are basically no offensive coaches that can come in with awful players and figure it out. But even the best guy needs some help. This is proof in the pudding that Chip Kelly got these exact guys, Garbers, Harden, J. Michael Sturdivant. Like, these were the guys on last year's team, Keegan Jones, and they were functional. They won 8 games. They ran the football really well. Same thing with the 4 offensive linemen. They don't do squat on this team.
I mean, just look at the comparison of the Saints. They have the same players they had last year, and they're a very good offense. Last year they were not good. So just look at the effect that a guy that's calling plays can have on a team.
And you feel like if you're a UCLA fan and you just hear off a surface area thing, you've hired Eric Bieniemy, you go, oh, that guy was almost an NFL head coach. Like, okay.
You'd have to think that's a positive hire. You can't see that and think, oh, that's not a good hire.
Well, it hasn't worked yet. And if it does on Saturday night against LSU, this guy in this chair right here is going to be a cranky dude because there's no reason the UCLA should come in here and go up and down the field. No. This should be a statement performance for LSU. Maybe not to the national people, maybe not even to the fan base, to them themselves. We can do this.
Yeah, because no one is going. This is another situation, not as similar as the Nichols game, but it's another situation where if LSU goes out there and wins 45-13, no one's really going to bat their eyes at it.
No.
But if they go out there and give up 25 or 30, then people are going to talk about it. So it's one of those, yeah, you're right. It's like they have to do it for themselves.
Here's a proclamation for you. If they win this game 43-38, I promise you have my word, I will pick Ole Miss to score 60 in my pick'em on Friday, on that 2 weeks from Friday, 3 weeks actually. I will pick Ole Miss to score 60 if UCLA scores 38.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, you let South Carolina score 33.
Yeah.
So things are possible.
Yeah, you're right.
They need to hold. What's the line of delineation here? I think, depending on how it goes, if LSU's offense turns it over and gives them 3 short fields or something, but in general terms, if they hold UCLA under,
I say 25.
I was going to say 21. I'm not super thrilled with 24.
Yeah, no,
they
but
didn't snip that against Indiana or Hawaii.
Yeah, I just think it could be a situation where, hopefully it's a situation where maybe LSU's up big and they maybe score a touchdown at the end to get them over.
If there are extenuating circumstances like turnovers or the twos come in, then we'll scrap it. But if this thing is played straight up, and I feel like there are starters in the game in the fourth quarter, and LSU wins it by 17 points, and LSU holds them on to 21 or under, I'll feel decent about it. There was a time where I would never think that UCLA should score 21 points on LSU. That time is not today. I think that if LSU can hold them to 21 or under, I'll consider it a reasonable success.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think the UCLA, what we're seeing from them right now, I think it just goes to show what happens to a team that isn't. They're like a middling team, and they lose their coach. Not to mention it was even worse than normal, but they lose their coach and they lose all these players in the transfer portal. I think this just goes to show how bad of an effect it can have on a team like that. I'm
jaded by the completely meaningless Big Ten Media Days thing that we saw.
Yeah.
I'm jaded by that because I think it's, and I realize I sit here and talk in front of a microphone for 10 hours a day, so I'm not exactly like, everybody that doesn't do this, and there are plenty of people that have fear of public speaking, but that was frightening to watch.
It was.
And so I'm jaded by that, and I think they may have missed here. It's too early, but I think they may have missed. But we'll see. They get a chance to come in here and shock the world on Saturday. So they're 3 touchdown dogs. We shall see. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.